Big, hefty, and bold, a legend of old, used by Saxons and Vikings. It looks kind of frightening, so let's get to some facts about the two-handed axe. Oh, hello friends, Lauren back with you, just spinning around a two-handed axe, no big deal. With good news. The channel has passed 250 subscribers. Hooray! That's a little bit of a milestone. No, I don't have any big milestone plans unless we get to 1,000. So a long way to go, but we're over 260 now. That's good news, and that means people like the channel. They like the videos that I put out. They are enjoying the content. So that means I'll have to keep doing content. I'll have to keep doing videos, educating you about the reality of arms and armor and history and all sorts of great stuff. So keep at it. But today, we should talk about two-handed axe because I know there have been requests for that. Some message board discussions, and people are fond of the two-handed axe. It's a very stereotypical barbarian big axe fighting kind of item. This is what people want to know about, I guess. So we're going to talk about it. Now, this isn't exactly what I would consider historically accurate. I think that this bottom part of the blade here, the little bearded part, this part that comes down, I think is a little too long. Other Dane axes, and probably should refer to it more as the Dane axe, or great axe, I guess we could say, are going to be more curved down to here. A couple reasons for that, which we'll get to later in the video. But it's an okay axe. I've had it for about 7 years. Our group did some, what I will call experimental archaeology, just playing around with it. It is blunt, it is for training, but there are no manuals to tell you how to use two-handed Dane axe, Viking axe, Huskarl, Saxon axe, nothing like that. There's no detail. Now we have later manuals on pole axe and halberds and other pole weapons. We can utilize that to kind of work a bit backwards and do our experiments, but we can never say it's 100% accurate because no one wrote down how to use it. You can have tidbits and some sagas and historical records, and we'll get to a story towards the end of the video about someone using a two-handed Dane axe in order to defend something. You may already know what the story is, that's okay. Some of you may not have heard it, so we'll go over the story briefly. But first, let's talk about how we would use this axe. Now, it's going to be top-heavy. Where's all the weight? Well, obviously, the balance point is very close to the head of the axe. So what we want is we're going to probably prepare ourselves with one hand closer to the head of the axe just to make it easier to hold. Now, it's not that heavy. I mean, we're thinking 2 kilograms, just over 4 pounds for the whole thing. Not really that much. It's not a 10-pound weapon. It's not going to be because you need to be able to swing this. I'm going to do some of this slowly because one, the axe head isn't actually properly secured. I removed it while doing some shaping of the haft because it was too thick with what it came with. And so it's just pinned. It's just pinned in, but it's not actually riveted on the other side. So I don't want it hitting the laptop as I film everything and hitting the webcam. We don't want that. We want that. It makes for an exciting video, but then I can't actually upload it because, you know, everything's broken. So one hand towards the bottom, one hand closer up. You'd probably stand and pose like this. But you don't wind up and use it like that. Remember, when we're talking about weapons, we're talking about push and pull. So as we prepare, we have it above the shoulder, so it's already in a position to swing out. It's already ready to go. And there we go. And as we would swing, we're going to start the swing with our arms pushing and pulling. We can swing, slide an arm down so that we have more reach as we get forward. And then the whole body is going to step and everything's going to land. That foot's going to land and we got the reach and we hit with the axe blade and we cleave through the target. So the axe on the shoulder, facing the opponent. You don't have to have it up and ready to go. Cut downward. We want to angle. We're probably aiming for between the earlobe and the collarbone. We're trying to hit this part of the head, but we could hit the top of the head. We could just cleave down into the shoulder. You could do a rising attack with it. But you swing, you reset, you swing again, you reset, you swing again, you reset, you swing again, you reset, you swing again. And you want to make sure that you control that edge alignment, that you're making a nice straight cut. So your push and your pull of your hands are doing that cutting. And a basic drill is that you could practice 1, 2, 1, 2. Not going to do it inside because there's a lot of things I could hit in the spare room studio here. But 1, up, 2, and then I'd have to be careful because I'll hit stuff. But you can see that swinging motion. We can see this kind of action in other weapons that are recorded in manuals later in the period, particularly when we get to what some might call greatsword, or I'll probably refer to as montante, or spadona, or even Zweihander, although that's a whole subject for another video, which hopefully will come up in a couple weeks after I get some practice in with something new. If you follow me on Twitter, you already know what the new thing I have is. It's a big sword. It's a big training sword. So, axe fighting. But there's something else you can do with this axe. If you attack and the opponent moves out of the way, see how it's pointed on the top here? You can actually thrust into someone with it. So you can thrust with this axe. This would be a sharpened point, and you can aim at someone's throat. Now remember, this is from over 1,000 years ago, probably still being used about 900 or so years ago. Right? Going back almost 1,200 years, we could probably have earlier forms of Dane axe. And remember, people aren't going to have as much armor. This is not the age of plate armor. There are some people in mail shirts. There are some people who just have padding. There are some people who might have exposed throats, might have exposed jaws under their helmet. You might be able to get to an eye. And so you can actually thrust. So you can miss. You can also parry. You can block an attack with the top part and hook onto there to push an opposing weapon away, come across, step, swing. So you can parry with this top part of the axe. You can thrust with this spike. And now the reason I don't really like this design because it's too long, one of the things that you could do with an axe is hook. So if I get the shield, and I hold it up here, if you come down, you can actually hook, move someone's shield, and smash someone in the face with the top of your axe. So a lot of axes, some of them might be considered bearded, they can actually hook on top of a shield. So you can try to pull someone's defense out of the way. So instead of just cutting into the shield because someone's got it in the way, you could cut over, hook, pull the shield down, and thus get a better access to the target. And if we look at a little axe, focus, thank you. You can see, so we're probably looking, that design, but bigger, would be more historically appropriate than this. Especially if you're hitting, here's your point of impact. It's going to be about here. So you've got a lot of wasted blades. So I wouldn't have this quite so long if I were making this. But I don't make swords and axes. It'd be cool if I did, but I don't. I just learned how to use them. So fighting with this, big swings, you want to stay in motion, you want lots of room around you, you don't want to be in close ranks. Close ranks, you can't get in a big swing because as you come down and through, and you need to wind up, you're hitting your friend in the face. As you come back and prepare for the next swing. And you're hitting your other friend in the face as you prepare and come back for the next swing. So you need some space. So something like Saxon housecarls who are using these axes are going to leave swords at their hip and put shields on their back and then use this two-handed, and they're going to spread out and they're going to take up a lot of space in order to use this, but it's definitely a shocking thing. You see this big heavy axe, or at least your perception is that it's a big heavy axe. When I said frightening, it's being swung in these in these figure eights, this infinity move. People are probably going to want to get out of the way, which leads us to our story. Because the legend is, back in 1066, at the Battle of Stamford Bridge, just a few weeks before the Battle of Hastings, in what's now called Battle in the south of England, but up in the north of England, the Battle of Stamford Bridge, it was said that King Harold and his Saxon forces surprised Harold Hardrada's Viking invasion force. And there was a bridge in the way, and they were going to cross the bridge, and a Viking with a big Dane axe held them off. So you would be using those big swinging motions. If someone comes into range of it, there's all that weight. You know, you've got this big steel head of the axe smashing into opponents, and they've got to move across this bridge. So you can imagine that this is very good for defending a space. So you could have one person defending a bridge, maybe that wide, where only 2 or 3 people can walk in file across. Well, guess what? You're using this big axe. And so they say that a Viking defended this, and someone, in order to defeat him, Saxons got into a boat, and someone with a spear sailed under the bridge and stabbed up at him while he was focusing on defending against the soldiers in front of him. So, is that true? It's what's written down. Could it be a bit exaggerated? Could it be several Vikings with weapons holding the bridge? Could there have been a sneak attack from underneath the bridge in order to try and distract them? Well, that's probably more likely, but it's a much more glorious story that one Viking is on a bridge defending it by using the axe, by making big swings, by coming down and around and doing those motions, and thus keeping everyone fearful and hesitant from charging. So what a great story. But also, if you're writing that down from the Saxon point of view, how great it is that you outwitted this person, this warrior on the bridge, and that you were able to get rid of him, and then rush across and, you know, set the opposing army to flight. And then only to have to disperse, and then regather, and march south because there's a new threat, and then lose. But Hastings, there are enough documentaries out there. You can go and find lots of documentaries on the Battle of Hastings and how it all went down, and I don't need to tell you too much about it. It's been done. But Stamford Bridge is a fun little story about how someone with a two-handed axe can keep people from crossing a bridge. Maybe that's what trolls do. Maybe that's how trolls guard their bridges. I don't know. Never met a troll. Well, not a historical troll. Internet trolls? Oh yeah. What do? We give them the axe. That's what we do. Anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the basics of using this. We're not going to do a whole lot. I can always come back to more two-handed weapon use. We're going to talk more about pole arms and stuff that we actually know in manuals and treatises in future videos. As soon as I get some woodworking done and some parts assembled, we can talk a lot about more of that. Hopefully we can also get outside on some nicer days where there's less wind and warmer temperatures and really get some big swings going and set it up so that I don't have to just do them in slow motion. Alright, so that's just a little bit of detail about two-handed axe, how you swing it, how you hold it, how you stand in the guard with it, how you can actually thrust with it and defend with it, and how you can actually get around a shield with it. So thank you very much for watching. Do remember, like, subscribe, comment, because your comments help determine what we get to watch on the channel. This is your channel as much as it's mine. I put in the work, but you inspire the ideas. So remember, if you have something that you want to see discussed, let me know, and I'll see if that's something that I can do. We can talk about it. Thanks very much. Remember to have a great day. Keep your axe sharp. Keep on swinging.